February 2022 monthly economic report came out this week. I'm going to go about the quick interesting things that came from it. One is production had been on the rise, and it has slowed down and it's actually decreased. So we're not seeing production increase anymore. That's not a good thing. We're actually seeing mining, production, and destruction all go down in February, and that's not a good thing. Obviously, we also saw player numbers drop. So this is just a reminder that this is a fancy new graph where you can compare all the different regions. I'm not going to talk about it here, but this is a fantastic graph. If you're interested in comparing the regions politically and economically, this is perfect. Now, looking at asteroid ore mined over time, January to February. February saw a vast increase in that again, and you know that's good. I mean, we've seen it increase since the introduction of the waste mechanic, alongside with a vast increase in the available materials. So we are seeing more basic minerals hitting the market or hitting the economy. One thing that is important to see here is this new mechanic down here. This is the waste factor, and so this stuff right here plus this is the total amount mined. So you can see that there's more cubic meters being mined overall, way more, but that doesn't translate in basic minerals hitting the markets, right? Because some of that goes to waste. So all this is saying is this is actually continuing to increase, right? And yeah, to the person that just said in chat that there's something going on with implants, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right, and I'll go over that in the Oz report about one theory on that. I mean, to the person, like you're saying prosperity, right? And I'm kind, you know what, I'm kind of sick of the fact that people are just throwing out there, oh, you know, CCP said, you know, prosperity, and you know, now nothing is, you know, nothing is, that doesn't translate into anything remotely into prosperity. If you're looking at raw materials right now in EVE, they are crashing in price, right? They are absolutely crashing in price. Tier 2 ship prices are crashing, right? There's fuel prices are crashing. If you're saying that everything is still expensive in EVE, then you're just not looking at the economy right now. So is purchasing power going up? Absolutely, in terms of those ships. Yes, we still have an issue on capital ships, right? We have an issue on capital ships. They're still very expensive and they're trading way below build cost. And we have a problem on faction ships, because there's no point in building them because the components are way more expensive than they are when you just trade them in for LP. All right, so just please, like, you can complain and you can go out there and say all the slogans, but please be informed about what you're saying, right? Because I hate people just going in and saying, oh yeah, but you know, they promise prosperity and it's not prosperity. Yes, right? But first, look at the data that is coming out of the game. Look at what's actually happening in the game, where right now you're seeing the biggest part of ships crashing in price, the biggest part of raw materials crashing in price, right? We have massive deflation going on in EVE right now in terms of overall prices, right? The only reason that you're not seeing deflation in the entire economy is because you have extractors and Plex skyrocketing in price, and that's the only thing where all the Isk goes, right? Everything else is crashing in price, and so you cannot simply ignore that and say that every piece of the economy, oh, nobody can afford the ships. What the fuck are you flying if you can't afford any ships? Tier 2 ships, Tier 1 battleship, they're all cheaper than they were before the implementation of any of these measures. And so I'm not saying capitals and faction ships are not a problem. They are, but CCP already announced that they're going to fix that, right? They're going to make changes to the BPCs to make them cheaper, right? And so if you're talking Tier 2 ships, if you're talking Tier 1 battleships, even if you're talking Triglavian ships are approaching pre-change prices as well, because abyssal materials are so damn cheap. So CCP has dumped a ton of resources into the economy, and prices have crashed. And you can even see that here, right? You can see the amount of minerals increasing, the amount of if you look at moon ore, I mean, look at the amount of moon ore hitting the markets. I mean, this is just crashing, right? This is prices crashing. And so please be informed about this stuff before just going on Reddit and saying, I can't afford, my ships. I mean, yeah, then think about why you can't afford your ships. All right. Ice, by the way, this is increasing as well, vastly, right, over time. It has slowed down. The increase has slowed down in February, but it's still there. Mungu just talked about that. This is interesting, right? This is very interesting. Yeah, if you're not able to make Isk, then I refer you to my Zero to Plex video series. Typically, what we see in EVE is we see a slightly increasing money supply every month, right? As you see in the overall economy as well. What we're seeing this month is different, because this month we're seeing incoming Isk supply 1,460 trillion, and at the end it's 1,442. So we actually had a reduction in money supply, which is, it happens every once in a while. The reason it happened here is not because of faucets or sinks. The faucets and sinks are actually in line. What we're seeing here is the active Isk delta being massive. So a minus 50 trillion on active Isk delta is massive, and that is a reflection of two things. One, bots being banned, but I don't think that's it, unless they banned a massive bot farm and they're going to tell about us, next week or next month or whatever. I think it's rather veterans leaving the game, right? So this is active accounts going inactive. There's a specific threshold where CCP doesn't count a person's Isk anymore to the overall Isk supply in the universe, rightly so, because it hasn't moved in a while. And so this is an indication of wealthy players leaving the game, or at least going inactive for a period of time. So this is very, very interesting. What does that mean overall? Overall, I mean, 1 month of this is not going to make a big difference, right? But if you have long periods of this happening, then it leads to deflation, right? And we are seeing deflation for different reasons right now in the economy, but that's one thing that we'll get to in a second. Actually, I can say that right now. Let me see. Let's do this. Okay, this is a reflection of just that, right? This is the overall money supply that you typically see going up over time, and then now going down. Interestingly enough, right? This is the money supply keeps going up, even though the amount of active players is going down. Just as a side note, the money supply alone is not the only indicator of inflation though, right? You cannot determine whether there's inflation based on the money supply alone. You need another factor, and that's the Isk velocity, right? If you want to know more about that, you're gonna have to look into the basics of economic, but in a nutshell, Isk that is just sitting in somebody's account has no impact on the economy, right? Because that person is not buying things, it's not selling things, it's not impacting prices, it's not impacting supply and demand. That is just Isk sitting there. And that's why they have to remove inactive Isk from their money supply, right? But for a time, if active players, if whales, if very wealthy veterans, if they're sitting on their money and not doing anything with it, then you have deflation, because that is actually misrepresenting the active Isk in game, right? So what we're seeing is we are seeing the velocity of Isk going down, and that means economic activity is going down in EVE and has been since 2017, right? So this is not the nominal overall amount. This is per Isk, the amount of time every Isk is turning over, right? And this used to be closer to 1, right, where every Isk was turned over once in a month, and now what we're seeing is that it's below 0.4. So it's stagnation, right? It's you don't have anything happening in the economy. People are sitting on their Isk. And so, you know, this is actually an indicator of deflation, right? So this is an indicator of your Isk increasing in value. So Kozetsu saying, so your Isk is worth more if you sit on it. In theory, yes, that is what these numbers are telling us, right? I wonder how much the absence of the construction of caps and thus the selling of caps is having a dramatic impact on the Isk velocity. Ash, I think that is a very good point. Absolutely. So if people are just living off their capital stockpiles and nobody is buying materials, sourcing materials, selling caps, you know, none of that, then that definitely has a huge impact on the economy. Now, caps are not everything, right? Caps are not even, you know, depending on the month, like they're not even the biggest group of ships, because it's in terms of market trading. But of course, a lot of cap trading is happening either within the alliance or through contracts. So it's very, very difficult to determine that. But here, that is something that we can definitely see. Although, Ash, it's definitely not the only factor here, because for that it's way too steady. The decline is way too steady, right? Caps represent a huge percent of the Isk flow in the market. If you're calling the market the overall market, I'm calling the official market the you know, in the regional market it's not, because you know the amount of caps traded through official markets is quite low compared to the amount of caps traded through contracts. Okay. Let's see, what else do we have here? Money supply we talked about. Let's talk sinks and faucets over time. You know, one thing that you can say, one thing that you can definitely see, let me actually see, hold on, here the raffle is over, so I'm going to quickly do the raffle and then move on. Varek 101, you won the raffle. I think I saw you there. Right. Varek, make sure you say something in chat to claim your prize, and then I will continue with the MER analysis. Varek 101, are you there? Anytime you want to move on quickly, people just leave. Okay. Gonna redraw. Oh wait, you win. Yes, you are there. Okay, perfect. Congratulations. Send me a message on Discord here or. And there's another raffle right there. So yeah, go ahead. Okay. You can see from the sinks that trade is going down because you can gauge the amount of trade being done by in the official markets by the transaction tax and the broker fee, and that those two sinks both went down. And so, you know, remarkably so, you had skill purchases going down, broker fee going down, transaction fees tax going down. So all of the major faucets or sinks decreased this month, and still the money supply went down. That's how you can see how significant that active Isk delta, that negative active Isk delta, those 50 trillion are. Yeah, the rest of this is just reflecting in-game events, pretty much. Now, the last thing we'll talk about is the economic indices. So, the big change that we saw this month is that the primary production index, the PPPI, right, crashed. And that is the reflection of Moongoo. If you look at what's in the PPPI, right? You could think that the MPI, the mineral price index, would include all raw materials, right? But that is not the case. That is really only basic minerals. Ice, Moongoo, and reactions, all that sort of stuff is actually in the primary production index. So if you want to look at the much bigger indicator of the price level within EVE, the PPPI is a much better indicator there. So, and that has been crashing, and that's what I'm talking about. It's going to majorly correct prices. Okay, it's going to majorly correct prices. You're already seeing vast declines in fuel and tier 2 ships and all of that good stuff. So we'll have a look on that in the Oz report as well. Now the taxes are a big one, given player structures often have low tax. No, actually the tax is the same. So this, let's see here. This transaction tax is the same for everyone, whether you trade at a player-owned station or at an NPC station. It doesn't matter. This transaction tax is always the same. The broker fee is the one that will actually differ if you're trading at, for example, the TTT versus JITA 44, right? So. Therefore, this is a very good indicator. Since the transaction tax is the same, it's a very good indicator of the overall amount of trade going on. Okay, let me take this opportunity and also call out Matthew's Power BI again. If you guys aren't using this yet, then I can just I can recommend this. If you're a data nerd and you want to look at the numbers at a more granular level without looking at those monthly economic report charts, then Matthew is nice enough to put all of those numbers into Power BI. And so what we can see here is things like the trend analysis over time. If you want to look at if you want to look at total production over time, let's see here. Total production over time, or you want to look at trade value over time. This is where you can do it in a much more efficient way than in the on the PDFs. And it's a service that Matthew does. I hope every week that we don't crash his server. Because I'm imagining we're driving traffic on that quite significantly. But one of my favorite things to do here is also to look at the look at the kill reports. One thing you can do here, if you're wondering, you know, what is the battleship that is mostly flown, and you wonder about the impact of the Praxis, as I'm saying, the Praxis is by far the mostly killed battleship in game. And you can look at this by various months, right? You can look at this in various months and everything. So this is an amazing tool that you can use to do all that. Besides looking at all the other parts of the monthly economy. All right. Cool. It's all good. It's Microsoft's problem. Oh, perfect. Is there a link for this? There is a link. Matthew is actually a mod, and he can post that link himself. Cool. That's the MAR. If you want to join these types of discussions, then make sure you stop by our Discord. I just linked the link to our Discord. Our Discord is where you know, about 3,000 ETH traders hang out and discuss markets and everything. So that's the place to go, and that's Matthew's link right there to the Power BI tool. Cool. All right, that's the MER.